Hello and welcome. My name is Tupfuma. I am the founder of Efosa, where we host interviews with African diasporans who are doing amazing things with Africa from where they're based. So thanks so much for checking us out. Today I'm here with two amazing diasporans. We've got Jessica Udo and Efosa Obano of the African Impact Initiative. So welcome. Welcome, Jessica and Efosa.
Thank you, Takuma. Hi, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Great to have you both here. Now, firstly, did I pronounce your names correctly?
You did. People do
Jessica Udo.
job.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Well, to start off with, I have you both here. Normally, it's an interview with one person, but you're both really key people for the Africa Impact Initiative, and we want to find out a little bit about what you do and how you engage with Africa from the diaspora. So, can you tell us each a bit about your background, about the organization, your role in it? Maybe we'll start with Jessica. Can you start us off?
No, I'll let Efosa kick this off, and I'll add to it.
Okay, no problem. Go for it, Efosa.
Thanks, guys. Okay. My name is Efosa. Like you said, I am Nigerian. So I grew up in Nigeria. Spent my life primary level and high school in Nigeria. Then I moved to Canada for my undergrad degree. I did that at the University of Toronto. So that was when I actually started African Impact Initiative. This was in November of 2016. So we're just getting to just crossing the 4-year mark. So I'm the founder of the organization. Along with my role as the founder, I also have a day job with Dell Technologies, where I wear a couple of different hats. So I help in our small and medium business space working with startups. And I also help with our corporate social responsibility as a social impact lead. So juggling that with African Impact Initiative is kind of what I'm up to right now.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks.
Yeah, and I'll go. So I'm Jessica, also Nigerian, born and raised. Fun fact: Efosa and I went to high school together. Also went to secondary school. For those watching from Africa, and then
Nice.
I schooled in McGill. We went to U of T. We kept in touch. Shortly, I guess at the start of last year, we started talking more about the African impact and what they want to do next. This was right before the challenge became a thing. And at this point, I had graduated. I had begun working with Microsoft as a program slash product manager. And obviously, the idea of using technology and startups to impact Africa and specific African countries was something that just aligned so well with me, not just from a career point of view, because my day job is building products for impact, but from a diasporic point of view. Like, how do you connect things on the continent? How do you give back? How do you connect people with things on the continent? So from those conversations, the challenge became a thing, and I stepped in as a program manager, which meant some of the work around what value we want to give to these founders, who are we connecting them with, what are we connecting them to, what sessions do they have in terms of how to build a product, how to get product market fit, etc. And on the side, I also gave some of the sessions, especially around product development, agile, lean, scrum, etc. So that's sort of how my personal and AII came together.
Fantastic. Fantastic. It's amazing that you both journeyed from high school, you said, or even before that?
No, high school.
High school. Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. Well, one of the things, so, looking at your website, one of the quotes on the website really caught me, and it said, the best way to predict the future of Africa is to create it. Tell us about what that means. Efosa, why don't you tell us what that means?
Yeah, that's a quote that really resonates with us as a group. And I think I remember when we came up with the phrase when we were building our website, 4 years ago. But I think for us, it's really the bedrock of what we're trying to do. So we feel like the Africa that we want to see doesn't exist right now to the level that we want to see it. So part of our mission or part of our vision is really um, creating that future. So that's why we think like everyone talks about solving and fixing XYZ problem, but we're really big on the fact that it doesn't exist today, and we have to build that future that we want to see by ourselves. So that's really the idea behind that statement.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, one of the things that you have done that you've accomplished with your organization is that you've developed a partnership with the University of Toronto, which is a really prestigious, excuse me, Canadian institution, really well known. So, can you tell us a bit about the nature of this partnership, and also for our viewers, what were some of the key steps you took in order to get this partnership going?
Yes, for sure. And big shout out to U of T. They've been the biggest MVPs for us. So I went to U of T as well, did my degree there in strategic management. So it was while I was in the program that I came up with the idea, or I guess that the African Impact Initiative started. So a bit of a backstory to that. We had the African Students Association, which I'm sure many people watching
Yeah.
have in their schools and universities. So that was when I came to UTSC, we kind of revamped that at the time, and we started it again, and we would have communities. So we found a lot of folks like ourselves that had similar experiences coming from home, immigrating to Canada, and having this big desire to do a bit more than just be a student, but really wanting to take action and fix things for our community here in Canada, but also for our community back home. So from the conversations we had in the ASA, my co-founder and I decided to take a step back and build something else that would serve a more intentional purpose than community and conversations. So that was really birthed African Impact Initiative, and this was while we were at U of T. So my professor, who's one of our advisors now, Professor Bill McConkey, I was taking his entrepreneurship course at the time, and I'm like, I have this idea. I want to build this platform that allows youth like myself, or African immigrants, or African diaspora, or locally African on the continent, to really take action. So not having to wait till you're old enough to do X, Y, Z, but take action right away. So that was the goal, and he was very helpful in helping us build out the platform. And then we have two segments today of the organization from a very high level. So we have the part of the work that we do for the diaspora community, and we have the part of the work that we do back on the continent. So the diaspora part started first, just because this is where we are. And U of T was the big sponsor for that. So everything that we do in the diaspora community, it's around helping African youth to get job opportunities, helping them to build their skills, helping them to get access to mentors. So all of that started at U of T, and it's still supported at U of T today. And then we took it a step further with them when we started doing work back on the continent. So that's a different conversation that we're going to get into, but I feel like that wouldn't be possible without U of T as well, because when we saw the need to empower African youth like ourselves, but those living on the continent, to fix problems, we needed more money. We needed more resources and guidance, and U of T stepped up here as well, and we built our African Impact Challenge Fund, which is a $100,000 fund that we're matching with the U of T to invest in first-time entrepreneurs back home. So that's the second part of our segmentation that's focused on empowering African youth on the continent.
It's amazing. Well done to both of you for being able to kind of manage that two-pronged approach. And it's something I really believe in. And, Efosa is basically founded on on highlighting the opportunities for such exchange. So this is a great example. So what I'd like to ask you next is, in terms of building those bridges between the diaspora here in Canada and perhaps elsewhere, and Africa. How have you found Canadians outside of U of T as an institution? How have you found Canadians responding to this? You know, you got Canadians who are diasporan, so maybe they'll get it. And then outside of that, who have no connection to Africa, and specifically those who have no connection to Africa, I'm very interested to know what that experience has been like.
That's a great question. I think we could speak to it both to an extent because we built out this program. But I'm gonna sum it up and say it's been a mixed reaction. So especially from those that are African, they get it, especially those who grew up back home. So they
Right.
get reconnected to what we're trying to do, and it's like this great way to give back. And those that are not African though, or don't have the exposure, they've responded with curiosity, and it's been like, oh, I didn't know this was the case, in this country, or wow, I didn't know, they didn't have da 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 in this place. So I mean, generally good people, but a lot of curiosity from those who don't have any context of back home, and that whole narrative about Africa as a country. Sorry, Africa
Yeah.
is not a country. So we faced some of those, but for the most part, it's been positive responses because we've been able to take some of that curiosity and get them really involved in what we're doing.
That's amazing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think I'll even chime in and say, yes, curiosity, first word that came to mind. And of course, with Africans that are in the diaspora, it's always an instant love affair. I remember when I was just sharing the idea with people who work at Microsoft because I was trying to find mentors in terms of helping the startups build their products. And it was very easy to sell, I would say. I think it's very innate in us, right, to want to give back. And even just speaking about people who are not African, I think a lot of our advisors and I guess investors is the word that come from U of T are not African, right? But very huge asset to the team, very generous in the giving, in their advising. And even events we host, we did see lots of non-Africans showing up and trying to find ways to connect, ways to give back within their network who can help, connect us with MasterCard, connect us with XYZ. So I would say in general, beyond curiosity, I think it's also been a very positive reaction from people.
That's really great to hear. And it probably has a lot to do with how you extend opportunities for people to get involved. So you've probably been really successful at marketing the right message, so that it doesn't just target kind of, preaching to the choir, people who get it and understand it, to move outside of that community, I think is so, so important so that the narrative, as you referred to, Efosa, is also understood wider than just us. So that's great. I have a question for you now, Jessica. One of the things I noticed around how you operate is that you focus on contextualizing development. So you're not parachuting these solutions into these contexts, on the continent. And you really involve local actors in developing projects. So can you tell us why you adopt that approach?
Yeah, this is a very personal question for me. So I think, and if also knows this, and I guess not everyone gets to know this, I think one of the big pet peeves I have is the whole idea of white saviorism. I think there is so much to be said around transferring technology across different cultures, but the essence is lost if it's not contextualized. And even between us at the African Impact team, although we're mostly African, we do recognize that we don't live there anymore, right? It's change. And beyond that, if you want to get that market fit, you need to be in the market. And what is really unique now is we're running this challenge across various African countries. And it's very easy to say, let's just do the same thing we did in Ghana for Kenya. But I think given the understanding that we have as a community, we're playing this differently now and saying, let's go find partners in Kenya who have been in
Mm,
space, who can come on board and advise and help and assist
mhm.
so that this works out the way we want it to work out. Because ultimately, it's not about me, it's not about Efosa. It's really just about the people finding something that works for them. And I think
Yeah.
that's really the mission here. It's that we are trying to take this sustainable development and
Hmm.
have people there do something with it for themselves, right? How
Right.
can we support you in being successful?
Yeah. Yeah, I totally identify with you in that, Jessica. I mean, it's just so important, that we own both some of our problems and our solutions. So that's great wisdom in your approach. Maybe, Ifosa, you could tell us a bit about what the Africa Impact Challenge is, because you got the initiative and you got the specific challenge. Do you want to just unpack that a little bit for the viewers?
100%. Yeah. Yes. So Jessica very well said. I think, and just kind of piggybacking off of that, that's really what led us to the challenge. Um, so we got to the place of the challenge because when we started trying to do projects back home, um, with our Diaspora team, we were very ambitious and we're like, yeah, we're gonna, create the future we want to see, and we're gonna fix everything.
Mm,
So initially we would crowdfund from our members, and then from also like we run crowdfunding campaigns, and we would take the funds that we raised and identify projects in the community, and we're like, okay, this is what we're going to fix. We're going to be very transparent about how we do it, and we go and execute. But then doing that was very fulfilling for a little bit. We then found that there was some, I guess, shortcomings with that approach, because
okay.
one, we were in diaspora and we weren't necessarily moving back, home to settle there. So we would do a project in place, but we would not be based there. So we would come back to Canada or to US or wherever we lived. So the long-term sustainability of that approach it wasn't ideal, because then a lot of times it would have to partner with an NGO or an organization
Mm,
in that community who would then see the project to completion, or I can kind of see the project beyond implementation, but they didn't have the same dedication or the same
mm,
passion in some cases as we had when we kickstarted this project. So
right.
we got to this point and we're like, okay, this approach is great and it's been very fulfilling, and I don't mean to discount any of the impact we made, because we did make some great impact doing
Mm,
projects we did. But then for me, I started thinking, how can we do this a bit more um, sustainably? So I
mm,
wrote this book called The Prosperity Paradox. I feel
nice.
like I should start getting paid for how many times I mentioned this book when I speak.
Also written by an Efosa, I think.
Correct.
What's the name of the author again?
Efosa Obano.
Right, all right.
Yes,
Yeah.
he's been so helpful to us as well. So he's one of our
Mhm.
advisors now. Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
but I read the book
Fantastic.
and I'm like, this book changed my life. It's literally it's here. I didn't plan this, but
All right. Show us.
it's here. So this is the book. It's
Here we
literally
go.
in my shelf.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
but yeah, so reading the book, it talks about how um, fixing, I guess, things on the continent, or kind of enabling the prosperity that we want to see, um, you have to have a different approach. So that's why it's called a paradox, because it's like
Mhm.
what it ends up being from the research that Efosa did, with Clay Christensen and Karen Dillon. They studied a lot of the emerging economies, studied a lot of the success stories we heard about in China and in parts of the world, and saw like trends, and then also studied the success stories we've seen in some African communities, and they saw
Mhm.
some trends here where it's like the process of enabling this. Um, there are certain lessons and principles that you could take that all these had in common. And a big theme on it was part of what we were facing, where it's like you have to like enable the innovation within versus trying to push it from the outside.
Mm,
There's so much dollars that go into projects, and um, to Jessica's point, the white savior kind of projects that happen.
right.
It's like so much dollars going in every year, what do we have to show for it in a lot of these cases, right? So they really unpack the paradox with that approach, and then suggest an alternative that's more sustainable, where it's like, if you enable innovation from within, also enable what we know as what they call market creating innovations, and target non-consumption. So these are all terms that I could go into on the call, but get the book.
All right.
But if you kind of follow all those steps, then you then are able to really get sustainable impact. So reached out to him. I'm like, love the book. We want to fix our process based on what you've written. I think you're very generous with this time, and that just opened a lot of other conversations to us as well, because then we built this African Impact Challenge where we're no longer going ourselves. We are providing folks that are there with the tools and with the capital, because that's very important, with the guidance to build market creating innovations. I think there's a lot of things that are doing incubators and doing VC investing and whatnot. I think what really I would say differentiates us, or at least what we are focusing on, is the part of the ecosystem that I feel is often neglected. So very young entrepreneurs that don't have the credibility or don't have the experience, because investment dollars are very risk averse. So it's trying to find that guy who's exited twice, and who has 10 years of industry experience in this sector. But folks like myself and Jessica, and folks like us back home who are just starting out and still want to fix XYZ, they don't they don't get a seat at the table. So we're really trying to work with those guys, like folks who don't really have a lot of experience, and then make it a more or less risky process for them in building. And then, technology is obviously a big part of it, because that's part of what the book says. And my day job with Dell, Jessica's day job with Microsoft, we're always going to have a bias towards technology solutions. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that context and background. It's fascinating how you connected with the other Efosa. And it's a book I've been actually meaning to look into. I've heard a lot about it. So thanks for mentioning that. But what you ended off with actually takes me into a question I'd like to direct to Jessica around technology. So you're talking about technology, and it's interesting because there's different views and definitions for what technology is. We tend to think of it in terms of high tech and so on. But Jessica, why don't you tell us a bit about why technology is so important in addressing some of the key challenges that the communities you work with face?
Yes. And I think, again, kudos to Efosa for just capturing it all. When I guess we were thinking through this idea, we wanted to tackle big problems. And we wanted to tackle big problems with the limited resources we had in front of us. And I think it is no surprise that technology is a catalyst in that way. It's a multiplier. And fortunately for us, there's also research that proves that the more available the technology is, the more growth we see in an economy in terms of development as well. So, given my background in software engineering, that was what I studied, and my day job at Microsoft leading the product team, it just made sense that if we want to go solve this problem efficiently, given the resources we have, we need to inject technology somewhere. We need a solution that can be efficient at reaching the goal we want really quickly. But that does not mean that we don't have other initiatives that we support that do not involve technology. And also, what's really interesting is, since we're targeting early founders, we don't expect them to be software gurus. So that's why our ecosystem, our team, our community has mentors, has software resources to assist them in building this product up. I think it's really a wholesome process, and I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing that you both have this, software techie background, because you obviously bring a strong capability in that space. But also great to see that you acknowledge that it has to be a holistic approach and experience. And in some of my experience, especially in agriculture, for instance, you realize that some of the technology that Africans broadly practice in agriculture is very useful to today and needs to be married to the tech that you would bring, in terms of software tech. And I think that's what you're doing through making it a localized development initiative where you still bring so much value from the diaspora and all the resources you have. So that's fantastic. And of course, another one of your focuses is youth, is this demographic of youth. Efosa, tell us a bit about why youth.
Yes, yes. So that's the bedrock of everything we do here and back home. And I think I spoke to it a bit before, but we think that that's really where everything starts from. So the change that we want to enable in the long run, it's going to outlive us. Like, so African impact is going to be beyond Efosa, beyond Jessica, and the way we can keep that process, I guess we can effect it as sustainably as possible is starting at the grassroots, right? So if we target those at the early stages that don't have the I guess the mentalities or just the belief systems that a lot of the older folks have, which has been tainted by the governments that they've seen growing up, and even being Nigerian. So I'm sure a lot of Nigerians can relate. I feel like we're tired of waiting for the older folks to fix up. Like, we're getting old ourselves, right? So I think the cycle should start being broken at the very early stages, which is why we think this is the way to go. And also everything we do, it's not just that we're focused on youth, also it's everything we do is run by youth. So all the different teams we have, from our the team that started this with me in 2016 to the team that leads the challenge with me right now to the student team for the diaspora side of things, it's all run by youth. So that's also part of our, I guess, we really live what we're about by also making
Sure.
providing youth a chance to lead, providing
Yeah.
to really build these programs out.
All right. Well, that's so much that you're both doing, that you're both carrying, on top of what you do in your day jobs, as you both referenced. So, I mean, tell us, how do you manage this? How do you make this work?
Yep, that's the $1 million question.
Lots of caffeine.
Well, that Jessica takes lots of
All
caffeine.
right.
No, but
Hey, my mom's gonna watch this, okay?
It's a good caffeine. Don't worry. It's a good caffeine.
no, coffee. No, but yeah, that's. I mean, it hasn't been easy. That's sure. So when I started in 2016, I didn't have a job. I mean, I was still a student then.
Right.
So it was actually easier then. The only thing I had to juggle was with my schoolwork and exams. But I would say that since 2018, the scale that we've, like, just how quickly things have moved, and then working at Dallas and also progressing in my career there, it's gotten to a point that a lot of delegation has had to obviously happen, and it's gonna
Okay.
be important. So as we get to the next phase of our growth, I'm trying to personally decenter myself from a lot of the moving pieces. So everything we do with the students in Canada and the young folks in Canada, I am barely involved in the planning or in the execution. So I'm as everyone else when they're having their events now, because it's like, wow, you guys are doing all these amazing things. So I think setting up a team that's being able to take that on and keep it going from what we started has been very helpful. So personally, I'm more involved with the challenge and generally more involved with planning things that haven't happened yet.
Okay.
So for the challenge, my I guess goal right now is to get that to a place kind of like we are with the stuff that happens in Canada, where we have all the foundation built out and we have all the moving pieces, and obviously get more funds because that's what's going to keep us alive. So I'm trying to get us to that place so that this becomes another part of the organization that's a well-oiled machine. So yeah, that's how I mentally work around making things work. And Dell has been super supportive, and they're very aware of
Nice.
what we're doing. And it's also helped me a lot too, because at Dell I work with technology. I've learned to help startups in Canada really adopt digital strategies. This year has been so big from that perspective, right? With COVID and everything.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of transferable skills from my Dell career as well. That's also helping African Impact Initiative. So it's working out so far. Just trying to make sure everything becomes more sustainable for the organization as we plan kind of more long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. A lot of synergy there. How about you, Jessica? How you manage it?
Yeah. There's a lot that he said that is very real across board. I think the big advantage that I guess I have is if we're talking product / building solutions / solving problems, that aligns very well with my job. And this in its own way has forced me to become a better product manager. Because it just in so little time we've had to build out this program, and then take each of these startups through from idea to MVP to market. And those are things that I think early in career PMs don't always get to do. So I guess from a selfish point of view, this has been 100% an ad for me.
Wow.
And when you come into the day-to-day running, oiling things, and a big piece is that it's definitely different time zones. So if you're working with startups that are based out of Kenya and you're working 5 in Canada, it's like, that piece has been tricky, but we have an amazing team of volunteers. We have an amazing team of partners that are on ground as well as here. And with a little more delegation, once the structure is there and the framework is there, it's easier to get people to piece in where they want to contribute to. So this is definitely a joint effort.
Yeah.
You're everyone listening.
Yeah. I can imagine, because you're in the west coast of Canada. So the time difference between you and East Africa, like let's say Kenya, how much is it? About how many hours? Like 9 hours or something.
Out. It's almost like 11. There's daylight savings.
Wow, yeah, that also confuses things. Yeah. So that's not easy. That is not easy.
I remember running sessions for Ghana, and it's kind of like, okay, I'd wake up early, I'd do this, I'd go to work. And then with Kenya, this would just be a whole different ball game. Still trying to figure it out, I guess.
Well, amazing work that you both do. Absolutely incredible. I got one more question for you both, but before we do that, Efosa, can you give us a sight of that T-shirt that you're wearing so that we can see this Africa Impact Initiative branding nice and clear? There we go. Yep. Africa Impact Initiative.
Yeah. Shout out to our marketing guy. So my friend from university helped. The first person I ever paid for African Impact Initiative stuff. I paid him $7 for the
all right.
But we had no idea what we were building then, and it's so funny when I think back to it. But no, I love our logo, and
it's lasted. So that was back when, 2015, 2016?
2016. Yeah.
Wow.
September of 2016. Yeah.
Good job. Fantastic. All right. So now one more question for you both. We're here in Canada, right? Winter's coming in, and you might not feel like I do, but if you feel like I do, you would wish that you're hibernating somewhere as the cold comes in. So my question to you both is, if you could be in any city in Africa where you could escape the cold, you would live, play, and work there, what would it be? Jessica, go.
Oh my God, I feel terrible because I'm just going to say Abuja.
that was easy.
That's only because
really easy.
there. I'm okay. I want to take a vacation. But
Yeah.
more importantly, I want to be with family. So,
All right, that's fair. That's fair. That's
yeah.
fair. Yeah. All right, Efosa, what about you?
Yeah, for me, like I wouldn't. I mean, I've seen enough of Nigeria, so
Mm.
um, go with Nigeria. Though I love my family, but no, for me, I think
Just
it's
have to throw that in there.
yeah,
Eh?
it's a tough one between two countries actually.
Yeah.
So I struggle to pick, but then either Kenya or
Mhm.
Rwanda.
Mhm.
Um, I think because Kenya from the ecosystem of the startups and just everything happening there, it's moving so quickly. I think it would be good to be on ground and take it in and see things happen. Um, and then Rwanda, I've heard just great stories as well, and
Okay.
yeah, they're doing a lot of great. Um, their government and there's a lot of good things happening that we can learn from as
Yeah.
Nigerians. So I think between
Yeah,
the
yeah.
would be my choice.
So capital, would are you thinking like capital cities like Nairobi,
Oh, yeah,
Kenya, or
Nairobi.
yeah, Nairobi and Kigali, Rwanda?
Yeah.
All right. So you take it to
Man,
the east. All right, good, good. Well, it's
man's
been
came prepared.
what's that,
I feel like
Jessica?
I said I feel like I should have changed my answer now.
No, your family knows how much you love them now. That's
Fair,
that's
fair.
that's what you get out of it. So yeah, so Jessica and Efosa, it's been an absolute pleasure having this time with you, this short time. Really appreciate you unpacking Africa Impact Initiative and Challenge. So much incredible work that you're doing, and I hope our viewers will follow you. So I'd like to encourage our viewers. Firstly, thank you so much for being here with us, for checking out this interview, and do hit like and drop a comment below. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn under AfriFursa, and you will be able to find out where to follow both Efosa and Jessica in the video description below. So do follow them as well. Find out more about Africa Impact Initiative and get involved, however and wherever you can. So thanks so much. That's all we have time for today.
Thank you.
And
Thanks everyone.
thank you.